Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you today? We're so excited that you joined with us. On Kristen's Instagram, she asked for you guys to ask some questions about marriage. We're gonna jump in. I got to read a few of them ahead of time.
We got a great response.
Yeah, we had a great response. Some of y'all asked some really tough questions. Some are really fun, and some are both. So
we'll try to get through as many as we can today, but if not, maybe we'll do a second one of these. So what kind of led to all of this is that Josh and I started using that app Paired that I mentioned to you guys last year. So Paired is a relationship app for meaningful conversations. So basically they send you a question a day to answer between the two of you, but there's also couples games and there's quizzes that you can take. And so yeah, what is one of the questions that we answered that you liked?
Ooh, I mean, they ask all kinds of questions. Questions about who spends more money, or the most recent one that was asked was, what's a situation where you would not want to hug?
I haven't answered yet.
I know, you haven't answered that one. That one's today's question. But there's a lot of questions. Great stuff. You know, it's about anything and everything that you would come in contact with in a marriage or in a relationship. So whenever I answer, I don't see Kristen's answer until she answers. It makes it fun. I never know what she's gonna say, or I always know what she's gonna say.
I feel like you usually know what I'm gonna say. I'm pretty obvious.
Well, we've been together for coming up on 10 years, yeah.
So an example of a question is, what makes you feel lucky in your relationship? I'm putting you on the spot.
I would say the thing that makes me feel lucky is that Kristen is super fun. She's always adventurous, wanting to go new places, try new things. There's a lot that makes me lucky. She is incredibly beautiful, that's for sure. But more than that, she is truly one of the most fun, funny, and creative people that I've ever met in my entire life. So yeah, I have a lot to be, I don't usually use the word lucky, but blessed. Yeah.
I think what I'm thankful for is that Josh is such a hard worker and he's so fast at everything. I am like a slow person. I really feel like I'm working at my fastest ability, but somehow everything that takes me an eternity, Josh gets done so quickly, and it leaves more time for us to just be able to spend together, to hold conversations. He just really blesses me. Like lately he's been cooking and cleaning up dinner while I've been working a lot, and that has been so nice for me. So if you click my link below, if you click my link below in the description box.
I'll click your link below.
If you click my link below in the description box, you can get 25% off Paired Premium to deepen and maintain your relationship.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I just opened up our questions, and I'm not gonna lie, we've kind of glanced at these, but we have not discussed these at all. Do you want to start?
Shooting from the hip here.
Okay.
First question, you seem more in love with your husband than ever. What's the secret to keep the spark?
I will say, I don't think I've been as in love with you as I am now.
That's fair. That's what she's saying.
I know. Honestly, we've been through a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And I think the biggest thing for me with just the amount that I respect him is that he's been, I don't know how much you want to go into what we've been through, but he came up from the grave, y'all.
Yeah.
He was in a bad spot. There was a lot of feelings of betrayal. There was a lot of, I'll let him go into it, but he really pulled himself out of a really awful place. And at first people weren't sure that he was being authentic with it. But what our pastors always said was time will tell, if he's being for real, then in a year from now, he'll still be doing these things. And not only has it been a year, it's been years now, and I feel like you've stayed true to all those things that you said, and not only that, but you've gotten better and better.
Oh man.
Sir,
these are good.
Heavy questions.
How do you address or solve conflict?
I'll let you answer that one. He's the conflict person.
Honestly, not always the best way. Even though we've grown and we understand each other and how to communicate with each other better now than ever before, the reality is that we're both still human. We try to be very intentional, not just to express what we feel or what the conflict might be for us, but in a way where we know the other person will hear it. For me, I'm very abrasive and I don't mind conflict head on. But Kristen, on the other hand, she's kind and soft and gentle.
Well, I grew up in like a passive aggressive family, and you grew up in an aggressive
Yeah, exactly. Something for me that I've had to learn the hard way is that whenever I'm bringing up something difficult to Kristen, instead of me being my natural self, I will choose to speak to her in a way where she was more susceptible to hearing it. And so that typically means that
It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it. That's exactly
That's
right.
been a strong theme in our marriage.
It's a hard theme for me. Typically, if I'm bringing up something difficult, I'm going to be touching her.
I just want to feel supported.
Like holding her hand or something along those lines whenever.
Like, hey, you need to exercise.
Yeah. Hey, I really love you, but this is really bothering me.
You're going to die if you don't change.
So yeah, just being really intentional. With Kristen, it's the opposite. In the beginning of our relationship, she would really try to tiptoe around issues, and that drove me crazy. It wasn't good for me. And so now, as she is understanding more about me, she understands that I don't want her to tiptoe around. If I'm bothering her or doing something that's offensive towards her, I want her to tell me, hey, don't do that. That's really offensive.
I'm like, I don't want to poke the bear.
Yeah, she thinks that it's going to make it worse, but for me, that's how I hear it. And so I wouldn't say compromise, but it's speaking to the person that you love in the way that they hear you the best.
What are the qualities in Josh that let you know that he was a good, godly man? Let me just say. How do I answer this? You were in a good place when we first met. Like we said earlier, it wasn't always like that. Like, I don't know if I could always say that Josh was like the leader in our marriage. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I really struggled for a long time because I felt like I was not even the spiritual leader. I just wasn't being led by him. I was just doing my own thing. But I really struggled for a long time too because I was also the financial provider in our family. And so we just went through like a hard few years where I felt like I'm just gonna be honest. I felt like I was spiritually stronger than he was. I felt like I was handling all the stuff in our house. I felt like I was bringing in all the money. And then I was also pregnant and giving birth to our children. And I really struggled because I felt like Josh was not leading in a lot of areas. There was the situation where I wound up losing my job. It's actually when I started my small business that I had before. But while I was building that, Josh really had to step up and lead in our family, especially financially. And I feel like that step really helped him.
It wasn't the best thing for my emotional or spiritual well-being, but as far as like leading in a practical or like in a financial way, there was a shift that happened for me in that time. The job that I went into, even though I was making way better money, was very toxic for me. And with it was something that fueled my relapse. All of the things that I had struggled with before, they were encouraged, and so it was hard because I was there to work hard. It was very much an environment where I could step up in one way, but I was failing harder and harder in another way. I'm the first person to say that Kristen is who carried our family for a good while. And so earlier the question was, what is something that makes you feel lucky? Again, I don't say lucky, but blessed is that in all of that season, like, she stayed true whenever I was a total piece of junk.
It's not like I met Josh and he was like this super godly, wonderful man. Honestly, we mostly just had a really great time together. We had some really strong foundational similarities, but it's truly been a journey getting to the place that we're at right now. We met each other and it's not like we just had this like, oh, we started here and then it just progressively got to the point that it's at. It literally was like we started here, it went to here, and then like way down here, and then down, and then like, and so, but I would say for the past like 3 years, it's been like on a trajectory, babe.
Yeah.
Love you.
My encouragement to anybody that is asking these kind of questions for themselves is to know that that's the reality of a lot of people. I'm super blessed because I get to talk to people and my story gets to help people that struggle with addiction, with relationships almost daily. I will tell you that a lot of people, that's how it goes. It's not just this thing where they start up here and then all of a sudden fall off, or that they just have this steady incline. But most people, life is kind of a roller coaster. and you have good, really, really good times, and you have really, really bad times. My opinion is that what you do and who you surround yourself with in both of those times, the good times and the bad times, is really what either makes or breaks your relationship. My suggestion to young married people or people that struggle with addiction is to surround yourself, whenever you're doing really well, with people that are going to encourage you and that are also going to be there whenever you're having a really bad time.
I think too, sometimes it's easy for me to fall into this insecurity of, oh my gosh, does everybody who knows what we went through, do they just assume that like the love that we have for each other now and the affection that we show each other is like a front, you know, or like it's trying to cover up like, oh my gosh, you know, she acts like she loves him so much, but we know what he did, we know how he acted, you know, and that's not at all the truth. Like the love and affection that I have for him and the way I fuss over him is fully genuine. He'll tell you I fuss over him all day long with the cameras off.
Yeah,
all right, next question. Oh,
true.
sorry.
No, it's true. It's true. So we kind of answered this question a little bit just previously, but the question was, how did you get through Josh's previous addiction? I really admire him for being sober. So there's a lot to that. And like I said, a big part of what we had was very specific people that were walking alongside us in life. Number one, we had those relationships, really close friends and family. Number two, we were going to therapy by ourselves and together.
I started going.
She started going before me.
It was supposed to be couples therapy and Josh didn't show up.
I was struggling. I was having a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
I went
had
by
a hard
myself
time.
twice where he didn't come with me, and thankfully he showed up.
Yeah, I had to decide to do that. I actually have somebody that's really close to me. Sorry, I get emotional about this. Who has a family member that is struggling with addiction right now. The thing that I told them was, the biggest decision that I had to make was that I wasn't going to make, this is going to sound selfish, but I couldn't make the decision to be sober because Kristen asked me to. I knew that if it was based on her, then anytime she wasn't around or anytime I wouldn't get caught, I would fall back into it. And so for me, I had to make the decision that I will never do this again for myself. Like, it wasn't based off of anyone around me. It wasn't based off of anything that could change. I didn't know at that point when I was making that decision if Kristen and I's relationship would last. I didn't feel like I deserved her to stay around. So if I was going to get sober, I knew I couldn't base it off of that. And honestly, I think that was one of the best decisions, hardest decisions, but one of the best decisions that I made in that was that I couldn't let it be based off of something that was possibly not going to be there. Kristen's never considered it, but in my mind, I was like, man, I'm horrible. I don't deserve to have her. I don't deserve for her to be in my life. Like, surely she's gonna divorce me. And that's not who she was. She decided to marry me for life.
I didn't tell him that.
Thank
at
the
the time.
Lord.
But I had already made the decision that I was going to stick with him through this.
But with that, you know, it really was a huge thing for me. Church, y'all, like, having something that you take out of your life, you can't just leave that space open. You have to refill it with something else. Church was a huge deal for us. My relationship with God grew like crazy in that time, because I wasn't just taking out this substance abuse and leaving that part of my life empty. I was refilling it with God.
So since this question is directed towards me.
No.
I will answer it. The way that I dealt with Josh in this time, first, I mean, I'm not recommending this, but first I went to my parents for a few days. The reason why I did that wasn't because I was planning on leaving him, but I did want him to know what it felt like to come home to nobody and to realize, like, this is what your life could look like if we are gone. But in a practical sense, though, I had a list of words that was given to me by a friend who's also a counselor. It was a list of characteristics of what a child of God is. And then after each one of those characteristics is a Bible verse. And so I would write, Josh is, and then the word would be like courageous. And then I would like literally pray the verse that was after that. And I would like pray in my mind, like, Josh is this, you know? And I did it on my own, but then Josh found the paper that I was writing on, and he saw that I was praying all of these characteristics over him. And I felt like that really helped me get through it. At that time, I had a really hard time like respecting him. I really needed the Lord to restore my perception of him. And so that's what I did. Okay, everybody, well, we're actually gonna stop for today just because I feel like this is gonna turn into like a 40-minute long video if we don't stop it. But I will create a part 2 and I'll have that come out maybe later this week and you guys can see the rest of this conversation.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you. Yes, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Sorry I talk so much. Love y'all.
All right, bye.
Bye.